So going into the Season 14 PTR for Diablo 4, we are getting some pretty significant changes to war plans. And just to start off, we are not going to be getting account-wide war plans in Season 14, but the developers did say this is something they're looking into, and it was almost a certainty that we would not be getting account-wide war plans in Season 14, because if you don't know how the development of these things work, Season 14 will have been developed before this most recent expansion was even released. So for bigger things like account-wide war plans based on player feedback would probably need a longer development time than they would have to be able to put it into Season 14. So I would expect we will probably hear more about this going into Season 15, but there's actually a lot of other changes that just make war plans better. And pretty much every change we're going to go over, I think is just making war plans better, even though they're not going to be account wide. Now, the first one is going to allow you to sync your war plan boards while playing in a group. Because as of right now, if you're playing in a group, even though you will get the experience from other people completing a war plan while in a group, you'll get additional loot for that. You still can't sync up the entirety of your boards right now, but going into Season 14, you'll be able to do that. So you have to get all of your party to go to Temis, and then someone in the party can essentially start a vote that will give everybody a prompt that if everybody selects it, everybody in the party will now have their war plans re-rolled into the same war plan board for everybody. Now this costs 2 marks of Eldrune. Those are the marks that allow you to re-roll your war plans board, and every new war plans board you get will give you 3 of these marks. So 2 of them will be consumed when the whole party gets their new boards that are the exact same copies of each other's. And how this essentially works is just one person in the party. So now everybody in your group will be able to re-roll their war plans board to have the exact same one. Now, because of this costs 2 marks of Eldrune, it seems that you won't be able to, as a party, have any more re-rolls for that single war plans board. So you all sync your war plans board, you all get the same one, and that's the one you're doing, but you're essentially up to 4xing the rewards you get for doing this. Because let's say you're in a full group of 4 players and you sync your boards, and the first one you're doing is a nightmare dungeon that gives you extra gold as a final reward. Well, now when you go and do that, you will get the experience for your board for completing that activity. You will get that when you complete your whole board, but because you have 3 other people in your party, they're all synced, you will be getting the experience from them completing it as well. So you're essentially getting 3x the experience right there for that activity. And then because everybody is going to be getting that additional gold reward at the end, you will also be getting just 3x that reward right there. Then you will get your actual reward when you complete your war plan. And while this is good for people trying to play in groups, the way they are doing this is essentially just going to make party play absurdly strong for doing this, because again, you're basically just like 4xing the rewards you're getting compared to someone who's just playing solo. Now, you won't be able to be re-rolling your boards near as much as a solo player, but I would not be surprised if it's just the meta, at least at the start of Season 14, for people to all group up and just steamroll through as many boards as they can to very quickly max out their endgame skill trees, and then you can just go play the game normally as a solo player. So I'm very interested to see how widespread grouping up to progress through the system is going into Season 14. And on top of that, there are some pretty massive changes to war plans in general that is just going to be for everybody, no matter if you're playing in a group or as a solo player. So first off, increases all war plans activity XP scaling to Torment 8+. This should just mean you're progressing faster in your endgame skill trees. Then they increase the base activity XP for Infernal Hordes, which is pretty massive because as of right now, Infernal Hordes is just the slowest to progress, because running in Infernal Hordes, even a 6-wave run, is just much slower than like doing a normal Nightmare Dungeon or going and defeating a boss or something. Now, on top of this, and I don't think this is even in the patch notes, but the developers did say that Infernal Hordes are just getting the rewards for it also boosted up. So that's just from doing any Infernal Hordes run. The loot at the end that you get is just being buffed up by by quite a bit. And they did also say that besides just the loot you get at the end being buffed, that using the infinite reward chests at the end will also scale better off of having more Aether rewards. So that's the resource chest and the gold chest. This also probably means that Infernal Hordes is going to be very strong for specifically farming gold, because as of right now in season 13, doing 10 wave Infernal Horde runs, getting as much Aether as you can and using it all on the gold chest, but before you do that, just putting on your seals and your charms that give more gold drops is actually a very good way to get quite a lot of gold pretty quickly. And because that's going to scale even better in season 14, that may actually be a pretty good gold farming method. So Infernal Hordes are just going to give a lot more rewards, and it's just going to be much faster to get the skill points in their skill tree. So those should again be one of the more fun endgame systems. Then they are changing the objective for Helltide war plan activities. So it's been changed from opening up a certain amount of chests to now just collecting cinders. So normal through Pentian, you have to collect 75 cinders. If you're in Torment 1 through Torment 12, you just have to collect 300 cinders. So you will no longer have to go open up chests. And while this is more cinders than you would previously need, this is generally just better. It'll probably be faster because you're not having to go and find the chest you want to open. You could just go in there, kill things, and it'll complete it. And then on top of that, they are also adding some new war plan objectives specifically for Helltides and escalation sigils. And these will just be additional on top of the other objectives you could select. Now there will be longer Helltide objectives. So this is presumably to gather up like a lot more cinders than it is now. And then there will also be an objective to go through an entire escalation nightmare dungeon sigil. So that includes all 3 of the dungeons and defeating Astaroth at the end. And both of these much longer duration objectives are just going to give more rewards and be scaled much more highly to try to scale them correctly for how long they would take compared to normal objectives. And it seems that is also what they're doing with Infernal Hordes. So there are going to be more objectives that take a lot longer, but all of those longer objectives will just give a lot more rewards and a lot more activity experience. And the reason they're specifically doing this for escalation sigils and longer Helltide specifically is because those endgame skill trees for those activities have a lot of things specific to that. There are a lot of nodes that are specific to escalation nightmare runs, and then there are a lot of nodes for Helltides that want you doing things that would force you to be in the Helltide for a lot longer than the normal objectives would dictate. Like you have the node that can give you the 666 chest. Well, normally just going and doing the normal Helltide objective, you would leave way before you could get that many cinders. So now there's just going to be a lot longer Helltide run that's more rewarding, that will allow you to use those nodes in those trees a lot more effectively. But that's pretty much all of the information on what's changing for war plans going into season 14. Now, we don't actually know if they're adding anything to the trees themselves. They haven't announced anything like that, but there may be the possibility that with some of the new season theming stuff, maybe some of that will be in the war plans trees. Again, they haven't announced any of that. And even if any of the newest seasonal specific content isn't in the endgame skill trees in season 14, I think there is a decent chance that some of this new seasonal stuff that is specific to the season 14 theme may actually be added in the future as additional nodes in the endgame activity trees. I think that's one of the specific reasons they made the trees like this, so they could add seasonal stuff into that. And based upon what the season theme is for season 14, I think there is actually a good chance that they add some of the seasonal content back into the game as nodes in your endgame skill trees, because some of this new content just fits perfectly into being added as new nodes. But outside of that, that is all of the information we have on what's changing with war plans going into season 14. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.